Okay, so it's 7 a.m. sharp right now. We're gonna start our meeting. Here is our agenda for today. We're gonna introduce the project that we're gonna handle and the timeline and also what is gonna happen. Apa kabar? Oh iya, jadi gimana sih kemarin perbincangannya tuh udah oke belum
Kemarin
ya?
udah sukses loh
Oh
projectnya.
udah, oke, congrats ya. Congrats. But this time, I'm actually gonna talk about the Indonesia work culture that Singapore could learn from. The warmth is real and it actually works. So when something personal happens to you, I ever got into a breakup in Singapore, and I think when we say that out loud in Singapore corporate culture, they just won't ask anymore. But in Indonesia, they will ask you, how are you doing? What's the update? Although this also kind of happened in my previous work because I broke up because of a man, guys. So I threw in my resignation letter for that guy, and my boss actually wanted me to stay, but because of that guy, I didn't stay. So it was a big thing. But if it was not because of my resignation, I think they won't also want to know about my personal life. Like, that doesn't matter. It's not their business. But in Indonesia, okay, warmth is super, super real, guys. So I know from my parents' business, my parents can drive like 2 hours just to see their staff, and they can also bring you food when you're stressed. They remember your birthday, they celebrate it every single month. It is possible and it is happening in some companies in Indonesia. And I know for some people it can be a bit much, but it is very normal in Indonesia. It is kind of like a must to retain the employee. And sometimes the boundary between personal and work gets blurry, and that is why it is quite sensitive along those lines. But it does reduce burnout and increases loyalty. And definitely in Singapore, they are doing a lot of these initiatives. Like, there's also work trips, bonding trips. They would also do mental health days, mental awareness week. So I know Singapore is doing a lot of this stuff because we all know Singapore workplace can be quite stressful. The second thing that Indonesia has is this huge dedication to a company. Like my parents' staff, they've worked for my parents since I was like 5 years old, 22 years, and even until the day they passed away. And this is something that is like very rare in Singapore nowadays, unless like they have already built this very strong relationship and it's a family business in Singapore. But in Indonesia, as what I mentioned, a lot of the businesses are also family businesses. So they build this loyalty around that. And I know I previously said that in Singapore, there's this performance review plan where they can sack you out if you are underperforming. But in Indonesia, it isn't. That is why a lot of them are staying in this company, and they are so dedicated. Sometimes it's no longer about the money. It's just about their calling. They can even say it's their calling to be in this company. So it is something that is quite rare and something that Singapore could probably learn from, because I know in Singapore work culture is like, if you don't jump every 2 years, you're gonna be stuck there and you're not chasing the corporate ladder. It really depends on the person, but usually that is the norm. And I think in Indonesia there's no such thing, because if you jump across the companies, it might lead to a higher pay, but it also kind of have this judgment from people looking at your resume like, oh, why is this person always jumping? Is he even loyal? Yeah. And the third thing about Indonesia work culture is we know how to read the room. Like, if something is off, we just switch the topic, we won't talk, and that's it. But in Singapore, things can be quite tense. And yeah, Indonesians, we really do not like confrontation. We hate hard conversations, and that is why we are trained to say certain things and not say certain things. And I think this is only developed after years of working in workplace. Singapore might be too blunt, and Indonesia, we actually talk with more warmth I'm not saying that I have already been following the Indonesia norm work culture, trying to improve the way I communicate to be more gentle also. It's not that I say bad things to the team, it's just I'm very blunt in the feedback that I give. And this is something that I have to improve because in Indonesia, it's like you giving a feedback is something that they don't take it lightly also. So yeah, we need to know how to read the room and say it and craft it in a good way. In Singapore, everything is so organized. Everything is like super detailed, and everywhere there's good infrastructure. In Indonesia, you don't get such thing. Clear solutions, no. So what we have to do is to use our resourcefulness, creativity to reach to a certain solution and to give the customer what they want, because we're just born with lack. So it is that resourcefulness that I think is very important, and creativity on how to get there. So this is a culture that Indonesians always have. We're very strong in our imagination and creativity, and I think this is something that we can be very proud of. Lastly, I think this is super underrated. Indonesia, we have a lot of grace. When someone does something wrong, we don't just, okay, bye. No, there's a lot of chances in between. So you might hear even news where actually this celebrity, they did something, but we still kind of idolize this celebrity. We still treasure them. We also understand they're humans, they make mistakes. We should move on. We shouldn't be so mean to people. So this grace is super abundant in Indonesia. That is very different from Singapore. Singapore, A is A, B is B. Okay, there's no C equals to A equals to B. No. So when you do mistakes in Singapore, it can be quite fatal because the room of grace is so little also. So you need to do everything according to the rules. And sometimes it can be quite suffocating too. But I guess the accountability part in Singapore is much more felt as compared to Indonesia, and that is why we don't want to risk even to reach that out of the box solution that is not legal. We don't want to do that, and a lot of people have this burden also, stress, and that also leads to workplace stress because there's a lot of accountability to it. Because Singapore is small, if you do one mistake and it hits to the news and everywhere. But again, I think there is definitely room for grace in Singapore. It's just a bit harder because it is smaller. All in all, I feel like the two cultures have taught me two different things in life, and there are definitely pros and cons for each. And Indonesia gets a lot of criticism sometimes, like we can't really keep our time check and all that, but actually not everyone is like that. And of course in Singapore it's not always like that, so it really depends on the leadership, but this is what is happening most of the time. But what I realized, the warmth, the loyalty is something that we can always treasure from Indonesia, and also the grace that people have. And if you've ever encountered this kind of differences, also let me know in the comments. Let me know also what type of other videos you like to see, and I'll see you on my next video.